Okay, so we're going to start with a short welcome and opening remarks from Pastor Davis, who is the president of the NAACP Arlington branch. She recorded a video because unfortunately she's not able to join us in person today. So we'll play that video and then we will kick things off with our keynote address.
Good day, everyone. It is truly my honor and privilege to welcome you today to the 4th Annual Arlington Fair Housing Conference hosted by the NAACP Arlington branch. My name is Reverend DeLishia Davis, and I have the privilege of serving as the president of this branch. Today, we gather not just for dialogue, but for action. Fair housing is a cornerstone of justice. It affects where children learn, where families work, how communities grow, and whether people can live with dignity, safety, and opportunity. And we know that in Arlington County, as across this nation, fair housing remains unfinished work. We're grateful today to our event sponsors, the Equal Rights Center, Housing Opportunities Made Equal, home of Virginia, and the Northern Virginia Realtors Association. Your partnership makes this vital conversation possible for us all. Special thanks as well to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington for providing this welcoming space, to Memphis Chef LLC for today's catering, and to our own NAACP Branch Executive Committee for your constant support and vision. I also want to recognize the members of the Housing Committee and Kellen Macbeth in particular, whose hard work and passion have led us to this important day. Thank you for your leadership and unwavering commitment to justice. The NAACP was founded 116 years ago with a bold mission to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights for all people, and to eliminate racial hatred and discrimination. That work continues with urgency today. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 sought to outlaw discrimination in housing. But here we are, even decades later, we still see the harmful legacy of segregation and racism in how neighborhoods are shaped, how opportunity is distributed, and how resources are allocated. Whether it's the growing gap in life expectancy between Arlington neighborhoods, disparity in employment, or differences in school performance across racial and geographic lines, these outcomes are tied directly to housing. And that is why our advocacy together is more urgent than ever. Sadly, friends, we gather at a time when national leaders seem to have abandoned the fight for equity. Attacks on civil rights enforcement, on diversity and inclusion, and on fair housing itself threaten to undo hard-won gains. But friends, even if it's not done on the federal level, we must rise up at the state and local levels. Virginia and localities like Arlington must become the beacons of hope, taking up the mantle of civil rights leadership. That means investing in the civil servants and people who enforce fair housing laws, making sure that there's equity into every decision from land use to housing programs, and renewing the fight against displacement, housing discrimination, and policymaking that excludes the voices of historically marginalized communities. As W.E.B. Du Bois, one of our NAACP founders, reminded us, the battle we wage is not for ourselves alone, but for all true Americans. And as President Lyndon B. Johnson said when he signed the Fair Housing Act, fair housing for all human beings who live in this country, is now a part of the American way of life. It is our job to ensure that that promise becomes reality. Today, you will hear from our keynote speaker who will share critical insight into the state of fair housing enforcement at the federal level. Other state and regional advocates who will update us on legislative progress, enforcement trends, and the work to implement the Washington Regional Fair Housing Plan. And we'll hear today from the chair of Arlington's Housing Commission, who will address opportunities and challenges we face right here in Arlington, Virginia. And so I encourage each of you to listen with open minds and ask the question, how can I become a stronger advocate for fair housing and equity in this community? Thank you all for your presence, your passion, and your partnership. Let's work together to turn our words into action and action into justice. God bless you and thank you for all that you do for housing in Arlington and beyond.